the On the Mic podcast. And last time Bellator had an event, yours truly was cage side for Bellator 297. Now, at the end of the month, they returned to Japan for Bellator Rizin 2. And I think I'm talking to Miss Spoiler. Miss Guillotine, Miss Spoiler. She loves playing spoiler alert. And I'm very excited to talk to her for the very first time on this show. Veta Arteaga. Veta, how are you?
I'm doing really well. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining me. Now, you'll take on Kana Watanbe at the end of this month in Japan. First and foremost, fighting in Japan. It's, every fighter, every true martial artist, it's like a dream come true for them. What's it going to be like for you?
The same. I've always wanted to go, but knowing that I'm competing there, it brings something to my heart.
Another thing I think it should bring to your heart is that, Bellator has sent you all over the world, and, it's a smaller event. So they're picking specific fighters to represent them, over there. What does that mean to you that your name was chosen and selected for not only this opponent, but for this event as well?
It means a lot. Bellator is a great organization to fight for. They have treated me so well, and I'm very thankful for this opportunity. Like how you touched base on it, I have had the opportunity to travel, and this has always been on my list, and the opportunity came to me, and so I couldn't deny it.
Yeah, I mean, you've only fought in Hawaii, now going over to Japan. You fought all over, right? Like, I mean, where else can you do that for your profession and be very damn good at it, which is what you are? Coming into this fight, what is your mindset like coming into it with Watanabe as your opponent? Or is it something that you're like, I need to, not obviously, I know you want to win. That's not the question. But I want to take the ranking, I want to shock the world, or you just want to put on a performance that you're capable of doing? Or is it all the above?
It's a little bit of everything, all of the above. I'm going in there, like how you said, I'm going in there to win. I'm going in there to show my skills and to dominate and to show that I do belong here and I want another title shot. So I got to do it. And so I'm really excited and really happy for this.
Now, you're obviously ranked 7th in the rankings. I think a huge win, puts you right away in that conversation. Where would this lead you next? I know obviously the fighter answer is we'll have to talk to your team. We'll have to talk to Bellator. I know that answer. That's a politically correct answer. But what would it be for you? Is it one more fight and then a title fight? Is it, no, Mike, shut up, I'm going to beat this girl and then I'm going to go get my title fight? What is it for your mind?
I am taking everything with some grace, and it's one fight at a time. I don't want to get too carried away, thinking too much about the future, but I know where I'm headed, and I'm headed to the top, but it's with one fight at a time. And I know that this fight will get me to one step closer to what the overall goal is.
And what do you make of Kana Watanbe as an opponent?
As an opponent, well, we fought on the same card in Hawaii. We actually crossed paths, and we said hi and stuff. So as a person, she seems very nice, and as an opponent, she seems like a really good competitor. So I feel like we're really well matched. Probably I feel like she's probably going to want to do a lot about more grappling. But I'm prepared for everything. I'm prepared for her stand up. I'm prepared for her grappling. So I'm excited to go in there and do me.
Now, when you've had a couple of decisions that haven't gone your way in your career, and most notably your last fight, I always feel like, and I hate using the word loss, right? Because I feel all fighters can take something, win or lose, from that fight. And when you challenge yourself and you go those 15 minutes, was there anything you learned about yourself or you were able to figure out about yourself, whether it be as a fighter, as a person, to now accept this very high stakes matchup where you feel overly confident and getting back in the win column?
So like how you said, like, there's no losses, there's only learning experience. Like, I feel like that's cliche thing to say, but at the same time, I feel like cliche things have some truth to them. So you learn instead of, they're a loss. So I know that I can hang in there for 15 minutes. I know that, like, there's no doubt in that. And I know that I have grit. I know that everything that I have, you can't really teach. I have heart. I have all of that. And what you can teach is technique. And so I definitely am going to apply that, be the technician that I am, but also with that grit that I know that I have. So I'm really excited to go and compete.
I'm excited for you. I think it's a hell of a fight. You've played the underdog role a couple times, and you've come out victorious. Is it something where you're like, and I know one of your last fights, you were like, I didn't even know. So do you not pay attention to that stuff, or do you kind of look at it? You're like, I wonder, am I really the underdog here?
Yeah, it's just so weird because I feel like this whole experience of fighting, that's what fighting is. It's all experience. Every fight, it's an experience, from my amateur career to my professional career, from fighting when there was no crowd, and now fighting when there's a lot of, like, not the crowd favorite. So everything is just the experience. And I have just grown as an athlete, and every fight I just keep getting better. Even from my last fight, every practice I'm getting better. I see how I'm evolving and I'm growing as a human and as an athlete. So as far as the rankings go, they matter, but they also don't matter. I'm like, I just got to show up, and that's what I'm going to do is show up.
I always find it funny talking about gambling when it comes to a combat sports competition, right? Because as much as skills pay the bills, it is literally a fight, and it can go one way or another on any given night. I always look at the odds, and I'm not a gambler because I cover the sport, but I'm always like, wow, this person is a minus 500 favorite, but what happens if they can't take a punch on this day? Or if they're hurt and we don't know about it. So I always feel like a fight is 50-50 no matter who's facing who. So I really love that mindset. You've talked a lot about Bellator. We've talked about Bellator and just kind of where you're at with them. They're doing something special. I always say that. And it's not because they're great to me. It's just because it's the truth. And going over to Japan and doing this co-promotion with Rizin, we have seen so much, especially in the MMA space lately, of so much talk about co-promotion, how that one promotion with 3 letters will never work with anyone else. And Bellator's got better weight classes. Do you think co-promotion events like this is better for the sport?
I think so. I think it gives the fighters opportunities to get the recognition that they deserve. Like going to Japan, it's a different country, different language. It's like me having this opportunity is just helping me build my name naturally without any forced energy in there. So I think it's not a bad idea to have promotions versus promotions. I think it's helping the athletes get the recognition that they deserve.
And I know you play matchmaker for Front Street Fights. I got to ask you about that because not only do you have to invest so much time in your career for yourself, you have, and if Bellator knows this, you know this, I know this, the amount of time and probably headaches and sleepless nights that you probably endure having to put fight cards together. What made you want to get involved from that aspect while also having your own career to worry about?
I don't want to think about retiring. That's but I also want to be real with myself. And I know that I'm not going to be fighting forever, but I want to stay connected with the sport authentically. And I've done commentating. I loved it. And then the role as a matchmaker, the opportunity came to me, and I thought, why not try it just to add something else to my resume? And I had my first show in February, and it went great. And I learned so much from one show. Fighting replacements, last minutes, and all of that stuff. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Not everybody views, I guess, professionalism the same way. And not everybody has the same personality. So it was just really interesting. But I loved it. And actually, there's going to be a show July 28th here in Boise. And I am so grateful that I have a support team that is kind of taking on that role as I prepare for a fight camp. So my energy is in my fighting career.
I think that's huge. And you talk about professionalism. I'm sure you've never had to call somebody as a matchmaker and be like, hey, where are your medicals? I'm like, wait, I need medicals? I've worked with a couple of promotions here in Chicago that are no longer around. And so I know a little firsthand about kind of the pain that you go through. But with that being said, and I know your focus is on this fight, what do you think you can say, just being here on this show, to all fighters, not the ones that you'll play matchmaker for in the future, but fighters who will watch you, male or female, on this Bellator Rizin event, those that want to get their career off the ground and they need to take it seriously? What would you say about someone who's not only a veteran in the sport, but can help open doors for younger fighters about how they need to approach their career?
I honestly think that having clear communication with your team on what your goal is, on what you want to do with it, I think that goes a long ways. Like if you're an amateur and you're wanting to fight at a professional level, I think it's important to surround yourself with athletes that are at that level, or also have those conversations with coaches, with professional athletes of, hey, where do I start? Because honestly, in my career, it started off as a hobby to a passion to now my career. And now I feel like I'm the definition of MMA. Like I'm always around it. This is what I do. And I love that. I love that. This career has given me so much freedom and so many opportunities. And so I think it's important for amateurs to make sure that they are talking with their coaches on what their goals are and what they need to do, on what needs to happen, and staying consistent. This didn't happen overnight. I didn't get a phone call overnight to say, hey, you're fighting for Bellator. It was me just showing up every day, getting better 1%, and eventually it pays off. Like that's cliche to say, but it's also truth. So I just think to stay consistent, talk to your team, make sure you build a solid team, and you'll get wherever you want to get to, even if it's not in MMA, whatever it is. It's a doable thing.
I think that's beautifully well said. And I'm not just saying this because it's your first time on the show and I want you to come back in the future, but I think you might be one of the most underrated personalities now in this sport. You're doing commentating, you're doing matchmaking, you have your own career, you have a possible fight that could put you within the top 3 in your division. I'm curious, what do you make of your division? And I've only got a couple more questions here for you before I let you go. But I mean, I feel like the opportunity is there on July 29th, Bellator Rizin. You go in there and you could really make a statement. And we talked about it earlier, but what do you make of where your division's at right now?
Hi. Yeah. I don't want to get too far ahead. That's why I'm like, okay, the focus is on July 29th. Sure. But I know my future's bright. Like I've always felt that. I've always known that. But sometimes you have to overcome adversity. And I think when I get that opportunity to fight for another title shot, it's going to be just as sweet because it was never given to me. I had to overcome so many obstacles to come back. And so this fight is really special to me, and I'm excited and I'm ready to go out there and do me.
I can't wait for it. What should the fans expect in this fight? You, Kana Watanbe, what should we expect?
We should expect for me to go in there, and I would be lying if I say that I'm not aggressive, because I'm an aggressive fighter. But also I'm a skilled fighter, and I plan to come out victorious that day. And from there, we can talk what's next after that. But my focus is to go in there and get that win, and to perform well, and to have fun. I think it's important to have fun in there. You have to have fun when you're competing.
I think Front Street Fights, I'm just going to make a public call for it. They should have a watch party for you. I mean, their events the day before. Get everybody's got to stay in town. I think there should be a watch party for this event because it's going to be a hell of an event. And you've got a great opportunity ahead of you that I can't thank you enough for joining the show. I hope you can come on afterwards, and I can't wait to see it. July 29th in Japan. You, Kana Watanbe, thank you so much for the time. And if you need somebody to do some coverage for Front Street Fights, I'm here as well.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks. I appreciate your time, Mike.